Hello, everybody. This is Phil Gordon and Dave Margolis for Laughing Liberally, Arizona.
Hey
Hi,
Phil, how you
Dave.
doing?
Oh, great. I can hear you. You can hear me,
I'm hearing
I'm
you.
assuming. And this is now going to be our
Mhm.
second episode of the sort of newest iteration of Laughing Liberally. As our audience knows, we did the radio show on KMKR in Tucson for many years. We called the show at that time
Mhm.
"Is This On?" But it always had the uh, liberal political bent to it. We often talked about our live Laughing Liberally
Mhm.
showcases that
Yep.
we did here in Tucson at the Tucson Improv Movement, known as the TIM. And now we're back in a new iteration of this podcast with our good friends at Zencaster. And so far, Dave, we're distributing via Spotify.
Well,
How are
Phil,
things
when
with
we
you,
did
sir?
when we did our radio show called "Is This On," it always opened with me
Yes.
singing the theme song of "This Is On," and I have a sneaky
Well,
suspicion that you wanted to change the name of the show so you didn't have to hear me sing anymore.
I know that rumor is out there, Dave, but I don't want to either confirm or deny. However, I will make the offer if your
Well,
pipes are ready to go and you'd
I need
like
to
to
write a
sing the
new one for
song.
laughing liberally. I don't have the song.
Okay, why don't we make that
I may
a
burst into
challenge
song
to you?
out of the blue anyway from time to time. But I also wanted
Absolutely, that would be
one more
great.
thing I wanted to say, Phil,
Dave,
is that I
yeah,
did some research on podcasts and what they're like and what people do, and I realized that usually every podcast starts off with 5 minutes of the people on the podcast praising each other to high heaven, how wonderful they are, and
mhm,
gushing over them and fawning over
sure.
them. So I have to say, Phil, you're looking fantastic today. You're one of the most talented people I've ever met. And I know the ladies love you and the men want to be you. And I just think I'm honored that you're here. That's the kind of gushing we need to have
Well,
up front.
you're reading my mind, Dave. I was just going to say you look magnificent in that Hawaiian shirt. I love the. I hope our audience can read that. That's the landscaping hat. That was that given to
Yes,
you by
yeah,
Rudy
personally.
Giuliani, Dave,
And he's actually signed the inside
or he
with
may have
hair dye. He signed the autograph with
with
hair
the
dye.
hair dye, and then and then he sold you that hat, Dave. Yes, we Rudy, of course, was a frequent guest on our
Yes.
Is This On show. It was not a good time for
Yeah,
Rudy. It was hurting financially.
I
In
think the last
fact,
time we
didn't
talked to him,
we?
Phil, he was we met him at a dumpster in the east side of town. He was looking.
Yeah, at the east side of town, didn't we? Didn't we catch him one time, Dave, up north of Tucson, the Rooster Ranch, the Rooster Cogburn Ranch? He was living there with the Roosters, and I think was romantically involved
Yeah,
with one of the Roosters, if
yeah.
I recall. Yeah. Well, Rudy is certainly not judgmental when it comes to his love life. I was thinking, by the way, I'll share it with you right here, Dave, just so our audience feels that they're a part of how we make this show. That we don't rehearse a lot. It's happening now. I was going to suggest a new segment. Where's
Yeah, where
Rudy?
is Rudy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we want to know. I'll just take a quick guess and say he's sharing a hospital room with Mitch McConnell.
And from what I hear, it's possible that their nurse was Melania Trump, who also has been MIA for some time now. And
She's been MIA, and I think for the right price, she would be your nurse, Dave. Well, let's give a little bit of a rundown on what we have planned today. But the plans are always loose; anything could happen. But we do
we
have
have
a
a very
special
special
guest,
guest.
don't
I'm
we,
very
Dave?
excited to meet him when he shows up. I mean, we talked to him before many times on laughing on our on, but yep.
Uh, let's end the suspense right now. It's one of America's greatest actor, if not America's greatest actor, Dave. The, the, the terrific, the spectacular Al
Star of
Pacino
Adam
will be
Sandler's
joining
Jack
us,
and
Dave.
Jill. Yes, he's very well known for that.
That's very right. And of course, when we had Al on in the past, it was because it was our radio show. So it was rather interesting that he wanted to do a cooking segment. And he's going to be doing that again today. And now we have the video today. So I wonder what Al's got
I don't
cooked
know.
up
I
for us.
remember
We'll
he made a
find out.
delicious ziti last time, and
Beautiful
it
ziti.
was
Yes,
really
ziti,
great working
ziti.
with him. You know, he's
Yes. I think it was from his Mama
mhm,
Pacino
yep, yep.
recipe cookbook.
And he,
Well, I can't wait. I'm hungry. How
I
about
can't
you?
wait to see what he's got. Yeah,
Yeah, he's the greatest. Always a great guest. And you know the thing about him is he'll talk about
right.
any
Yeah,
subject. Uh,
he's an open book.
he's an
Mhm.
open person. You know, certainly his acting is, legendary. But we've gotten to know him
Good guy.
personally.
Yeah, he's a good
He's a
guy.
great
Mhm.
guy. Real good. And you've got for us, Dave, another in your long line of
We
special
always like to go
days
through the
of the
month
month.
and see like who had birthdays and what famous historical events happened. A lot of the historical events happened in the month of August, and we're going to talk about those a little bit. Um,
Oh, wonderful. And of course, now, it's changed a little bit, Dave, since you and I were high school or younger. School
I
starts
know, yeah,
generally
how
these
horrible.
days in August, where for us, it was
Yep,
always
yep,
that day
yep.
after Labor Day, right?
And now,
So
when
August
I
now
lived
has
in
to include
California, I was in
start of
California for
school.
high school, and like you say, the school started the day after Labor Day, but in California, admission day is September 9th. That's when California became a state. We got that day off. So a lot of times we would go to school for a day, and then we get a day off, which was a nice way to ease back into the school year.
Beautiful. Oh yeah, yeah. It was always a tough transition. And because you had the World Series right then too, so you had to figure out how am I going to sneak my transistor radio
I had a
into
friend.
school.
I had a friend who
Now
wore
it'd
a
be
big
easier with
sweater,
the
and he put
internet.
the radio inside, and he had the earphone going up, and he
Yeah,
would sit in class like this and listen to the game. As many people
I
did.
like that. I think I
Mhm.
tried something kind of similar. Yeah, would be easier these days with the cell
And also,
phones.
there are night games now. It
We'll
wasn't
have
just
to
the same
check.
thing.
Yeah. Well, I've got a few young friends that live down the block.
Was
I'll have
this
to ask them what they're doing
Shlomo
to listen to the
Gerbenstein,
World
or was
Series.
this
Yeah.
uh, Moshe Leibowitz?
Well, Shlomo lived down the block when I was 5. I'm talking about now. I'll have to check with some of the kids that live down the block. But yes, yeah, Shlomo Gerberstein was one I would check with for an update on the scores for sure. Dave, you mentioned that, and we'll also fill in our regular listeners. We're gaining subscribers every day on Spotify, which is where you can find us currently. We're going to try to expand that out to Apple and some of the other hosting services. But I I was gone for about a month. We did. This is our return podcast, and I'm happy to tell you and happy to see you. Of course, I was in
Yeah, you were.
Chicago.
You guys, people, anybody listening can tell from the way you talk that you are a Chicagoan and proud of it. And this year, you visit Chicago every year, as I recall. But this year,
I
you
do.
went for
I do. Since I moved to out to Tucson here, which is
15
about
years ago,
15
and you
years ago, I love to get back to Chicago. I've got grown children live in Chicago, so it's a beautiful family reunion for us. And of course, I get to do all the things I always love to do, which is go to Cubs games, go to Sox games, uh, enjoy the beach a little bit, and then Dave, let's start right here. A visit to my
I was waiting
favorite
for that.
delis in
Did you see?
Chicago.
I sent you a photo yesterday. Did you
Yes,
see that sandwich that was pastrami and tongue? Do you like tongue? Do you eat tongue, Phil?
I have eaten tongue.
Hmm.
It's not my favorite, but I have. My mother
Really?
and father were
I
big fans of tongue. Would love a
never.
tongue
I
sandwich.
just don't like
Yeah.
the idea of tasting something that can taste me. So,
that would that would include
well,
several of the women you dated,
that's the
Dave.
next episode.
Tongue is for our listeners that may not have grown up in an Orthodox Jewish home or near one. Uh, Tongue is another one of those, salty smoked meats. and it actually is from the tongue of a cow, and then it's salted and smoked, and it actually, to be honest with you, it tastes a lot like the other salted smoked meats, is like pastrami, like corned beef. But I'm with you; it's hard to get that image out of your head of where the tongue comes from. They should have called it something
And
else. I
also,
think it would be more
it's like
popular.
they
You
don't.
can still get it. Let me tell you, I visited maybe my favorite place on earth, Dave, the Romanian
Mhm,
delicatessen in Chicago, up on the north side. For those that know their way around Chicago, it's on the corner of Clark and Toohey, where it's been like
mhm.
since World War II. And and first off, the requirements to work behind the counter, Dave, at the Romanian deli, you have to be minimum 300 years old, big white beard, and have your own butcher coat. You know, the white apron. These guys are amazing. I know it's the same guys from when I was there 50 years ago. That was they were just getting their
They
100
were only
year
250 years
pin at
old at
that
that
point.
time. Yeah.
They're just tremendous. Can I
Please,
go
let's
through
go
some of
through.
the items? So they have a tremendous freezer case where you can get your anything with a K, Dave. Kishka, Knish, Kreplach, all of that uh,
Mhm.
in frozen form. And I'll just focus on the Kishka. This was a delicacy that my mother made extraordinarily well. And Passover would be a time when you would have kishka, and because of the what do I get too technical here, Dave? But at Passover, Jews don't eat
Right.
bread or leavened
Mhm.
bread. That's where
Mhm.
the matzot comes from, unleavened bread. But it affects the ingredients that go into the kishka. So at Passover time, you would make a potato-based kishka, and I'm noting this just out of my admiration for the folks at Romanian. They offer both the potato-based kishka and the I think it's more carrot-based. I can't recall exactly, but there's some breadcrumbs at least in it that would negate it for Passover use. But every other time of the year, like the high holidays, the high Jewish holidays, Rosh Hashanah, you would eat the regular kishka, and it would accompany your probably your brisket. And this
Now let
was
me,
an incredible meal.
I'm,
Uh,
by the way, for
yes,
anybody who's going to send us any hate mail or anything, I'm only half Jewish, so
so you would
I can
expect
aim most
half of the
of their
hate mail,
vitriol
Dave?
at you. Uh,
I
my
think I get
father
it
was
all. Yeah.
Jewish, and he wasn't observant, but he did introduce us to a lot of Yiddish words and terms and things like that. And sometimes, if we were acting up or being silly or disrespectful, he would jokingly threaten us with a Zetz right in the kishka. So what? So what actually is the
There you
kishka?
go. The kishka
Like
refers
your
to
guts,
the
basically, right?
intestine
Yeah.
of a cow. It's your guts, and that's what this mixture of matzo meal, carrots, uh, many other ingredients,
Mhm.
sometimes beef, uh, is made into sort of a paste and then forced inside the intestine very tightly. I can remember my mom curling like the ends of the kishka, like she was rolling a joint. It was a sort of an early Jewish joint, Dave. And but it's thick. It's you can picture a cow's intestine, maybe
Uh,
3 or 4 inch diameter, and this is
so it's
stuffed
like
and then actually tied. My mom would
sausage
actually
form.
tie string,
Yeah.
sausage form, exactly right, and
Okay.
then it would be baked. And the results are spectacular. Let me tell you,
So
there's kishka is just delicious.
we
It's
often
usually a
have another
side
guest
dish.
that would talk about this. Does this compare in any way to the Scottish haggis? Is it similar to?
The haggis, and you're referring, of course, to our good
Right.
friend
Yes.
Sean Connery, the distinguished
He'll be
British
visiting us
actor James
occasionally,
Bond,
even
for
from the.
our audience. We're trying to make connections, Dave, in heaven to get Sean back to the show, and I think
I'm
that's
sure
going
it
to be
will.
possible. I really do. He liked He liked haggis. He liked another dish, if I
Hodgepodge.
recall,
Yep.
hotchpotch, which there's a Yiddish Jewish dish people eat for breakfast often that is a hopple popple, sort of an omelet with everything. So we'll have to ask Sir Sean Connery more about that. But you're right. I think every culture has some form of that, right? Everybody's got like a ravioli. You know, the
Right.
Jews
Yep.
call it kreplach. You know,
Well,
the
you're
Asians
talking
call it
about
an egg roll. You know,
Jewish, obviously Judaism, ancient religion, and places like Scotland that their history goes back way, way back. Of course, they would eat
oh sure,
anything, and they would have to make use of anything, and that includes the
yes.
intestines, and that's what they do.
They would, and then I think they maybe this would clear it up for our non-Jewish listeners. We're talking about a dumpling, basically, and every culture's got some form of dumpling. Uh, while we're on that subject, I want to stay at the Romanian deli, where I would be happy to stay all the time at the Romanian deli. First off, that freezer, the cooler has been nice in this weather. You know, I'd get right in
You're
there
lucky.
with the kishka and the kreplach. So they got all those. Those are frozen items. They also have your typical potato salad, coleslaw, all of those sort of things. They make a beautiful white fish salad, which is a very popular dish. And all those are in the
Mhm.
great freezer cases. But then, Dave, when you step around the corner of the freezer case to get in line and take that number, uh, ironically, I always wager. I should know this, but I don't have it at my fingertips. Maybe you can Google it while we're talking here. The current
Oh,
Hebrew year, 57, 55. I'm going to take a wild stab. I think that was the. I want to just saying that was the number I had in line,
well, I'm
and
guessing
and
that
you
the
wait for the
aroma there
guy.
was probably amazing as you're waiting in line, though. All right.
Oh my God, Dave! Oh my God! Even with my hay fever in Chicago, I could smell it. And it's the smelling of stuffing kishkas and slicing meat. It's just incredible. Did you look up the year,
It
Dave?
looks like we are in. I think we're in 5786 here. Uh,
Oh,
57,
I got put
5786.
on
Don't
pause there.
not to be confused with
5786.
8647, which will get you thrown into jail. Be careful.
Yes, it will. Yes, you will. So 5786. And I waited. I waited for 5,000 people to be called ahead of me, and they got to my number, Dave. And that's when you get to the meat counter. And you're waited on, as I was sharing with you, by about a 300-year-old Jewish man with a giant white beard, and they're very happy to offer suggestions. Like this gentleman was telling me that the corned beef was just made. You're gonna love it. I said, and of course, just due to some health issues, I get the extra lean, which he didn't want to do. He was, it's got the flavor. The flavor comes from the fat. I know, but
It's
but
like
I'd like to get the extra lean.
extra lean.
Okay.
Oh, you're one of those guys. You're one of those. You're one of those health nuts.
Yeah, exactly. But they'll do it. You might have to
Yeah.
prod them a little bit, but they'll do it. Uh, anyway, the corned beef had just been made. It was ready to be cut, and then they play that meat cutter, Dave, like a Stradivarius, and they will. This is one of the classic moments in any deli, or should be, when he goes, "How you loud would you like it sliced?" And I say thin. And then he turns around, goes to the meat cutter, slices off a piece, and hands it to you on a piece of butcher paper. And he says, "How's that?" And the beautiful thing is, that's for you. So I ate that slice, and I said, perfect. And then he went back and cut me a couple of pounds of extra lean. He protested the extra lean corned beef. Uh, these days, like I say, Dave, due to a little bit more careful diet, I'm not having the pastrami, which is much more spicy. I can only imagine how delicious. I've had it, fairly recently within the last few years. It's always delicious, but a little too spicy for me these days. But you kids, go ahead and knock
I'm a
yourselves
big
out. Get the
pastrami fan. I
pastrami.
prefer it over corned beef. And for me, it's like, you know, if you're only going to have it once in a while, if they want to make it with a little bit of fat on there for flavor, that's all right with me. You're not eating pastrami every day. I
Well,
do.
you're easy to get along with, Dave, and that's the half of you that's not
Yeah,
Jewish.
that's the Catholic side. I just feel guilty all the time. Well, the Jews are good at feeling guilty too. So,
Right. I like to educate here, Dave. I had mentioned, growing up in an Orthodox Jewish home, though I myself did not
mhm,
follow the Orthodox practices,
mhm.
but my parents did. And you mentioned that your father was Jewish, which technically in the Orthodox Jewish community would mean you're not a Jew. It's based on your mother being a Jew. So, I hate to out you here on the podcast, but I think they would be happy still to sell you some
My
pastrami.
mom, was
Don't worry
Irish
about that.
Catholic, and when my parents got married, Irish Catholic and a Jew, it was a story, man. It was not done. It was frowned upon by both sides.
Yes, right, right. But some similarities, right? To fighting with your neighbors,
Yeah, yeah.
there's some similarities there. The Irish soda bread, very good. Not
Hmm.
quite a challah, but
Right.
in that neighborhood. Well, let me
Yeah, go for it.
continue at the deli
Mhm.
counter here for a few minutes, Dave. There was tongue up there. I saw it up there. I did not partake in the tongue, but I'm sure it was fresh and
With
good
tongue,
if you like
they make
tongue.
no effort at all to disguise it. It looks like a tongue, a great big tongue.
Oh, it's sitting there. The big tongue is sitting there in the freezer case. Yeah, absolutely. That would be an uncooked one. They go in the back and you get the one that's already cooked if you're purchasing it right then. Uh, then there was beautiful, and the gentleman Moisha who waited on me suggested the smoked turkey. He said that the smoked turkey is delicious, so I had a half a pound of that, and it was delicious. I got to say, uh, there's various. You can get sliced brisket, of course, which is beautiful. You can also get, a larger piece of brisket. Let's say you want to bring it home and have a dinner with some kishka and vegetables and all that. It would make a
Mhm.
lovely Rosh Hashanah dinner. Uh, you can order large quantities there for catering. Chickens were there. These were, again, they have a chicken sitting in the case, but then they already have the cooked ones to
Mhm.
slice you some chicken or whatever. I remember, Dave, just as a memory, for those who know Chicago, I grew up at Albany Park. And in Albany Park on Lawrence Avenue, next door to each other, Dave, there was the Lawrence Fisheries, where my mom would go to get her fish, white fish to grind up for gefilte fish, any other kind of fish. The little high end sable, for example, she would get there. And then right next to it was the live chicken market. And you would actually walk in and point to a chicken, and they would wring its neck, and that's how fresh it was. That's fresh chicken,
Yeah,
my friend. I don't know if that still exists. I
maybe.
bet it
Yeah.
does in
Oh,
New
certainly.
York.
Yeah.
Well, you sent me a photo. I think we may have used it actually on the initial podcast when we covered the food court at the Great American
Mhm.
State
Yep.
Fair. It was some kiddish joint out of New York had a stand. Do you recall the name?
No. Yeah.
Hyman something
I don't remember the
kiddish.
name. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll research it again. But it's a very historic kiddish place in New York. Uh, so then, of course, Dave, I don't want to skip this for a second because I can't believe I forgot to bring it sitting here with you now. But I did purchase a 2 pound hanging salami, a hard salami, and it's hanging and
Mm.
aging right now. I will confess that I have cracked into it, fixed myself a beautiful hopple popple omelet with it, Dave.
Uh-huh.
It's delicious. And I bought it, and actually, as a little parting gift, I got like a 1 pounder for
Nice.
each of my
Mhm.
sons before we left. They're old fans of Romanian, from the days of living with me. But probably not the kind of thing they're going to go up and get themselves. But I thought, oh, they'll enjoy this. It's very good. And by the way, not that we're sponsored by Romanian, though that we're certainly open to that. They have a complete mail order service. You could order products from the Romanian Deli. It's the Romanian Kosher Deli, Chicago, Illinois. I'm sure they have a beautiful website. And you could order all these delicious things I'm talking about.
Well, I have to say, Phil, I know that upcoming when Mr. Pacino joins us, he's going to be doing a little cooking segment, and all this talk
Yes.
about the Romanian deli. I'm going to be really hungry by the time it comes around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure y'all have something great for us. Let's move on from this segment, which I'll call Deli Talk, Dave. And let me tell you a little bit about. Of course, I love to visit
Yes.
the Sox and the Cubs. I'm gonna tilt down here a little bit and show you that in honor, I'm wearing
Yeah.
my Frank Thomas shirt, which I was very, very happy to
Uh-huh.
wear to a Sox game. And then also, I want to share with you that I went with my son, and as life would have it, Dave, I have one Cub fan son and
Mm.
one Sox fan son. So my Sox fan son and I attended a very, very special night, Munetaka Murakami bobblehead night, Dave. And I
Nice.
brought it here to show
Still in the
everybody.
box. Have you taken it out of the
How's
box?
it look?
Did you take it out of the
Still in
box?
the box. No, right now it's an investment, Dave. And I don't want to take it out of the box, but if you look inside the box, it's got a little bat
Uh-huh.
that would go in
Oh, I
his
see. Hmm.
hands. And it's quite good.
Well,
It has a little better look, I think. It's
the
quite a nice
the
likeness.
bobblehead industry has really advanced in the past few years, where it's not just the
Oh
bobbling
yeah,
head, but sometimes they're involved in the famous play. The Mets Jesse Orosco famously at the last out of the '86 World Series threw his glove. Some people say it never came down, but his bobblehead is the glove going up,
exactly.
and a lot of they've done a lot with bobbleheads, and I think we're all better for it.
Absolutely. Uh, Dave, in any good podcast or radio show, you always want to billboard what's coming next. I will share with you that I believe it was 2 nights ago was Pope Leo Hat Night at Comiskey Park. It's White Sox Park. I still call it Comiskey Park. Now it's Rate Field, of course. But my son, my very loyal, actually Cub fan son, who will go to any ball game if you'll buy him a ticket, uh, was willing to go on my behalf. I bought him a nice seat at the game, and he got the
Oh,
Pope Leo Pope hat with the White Sox emblem on it, and it's being shipped to me as we speak.
so
So for our
is it
next
the Pope
podcast, I will
hat
definitely wear.
and it's got the logo on it? Oh, great.
Yes. Oh, yes. I encourage everybody to Google it because people are wearing it. They were wearing it in the Sox dugout, the players. It's beautiful. My son says it's very nice. He said it's the consistency of like a one of those giant foam fingers, and then it fits over your head, and it's the actual Pope hat. And for those who may not be aware, Pope
Big
Leo
White Sox
is
fan, yeah.
actually a White Sox fan. He comes from Chicago, where he um, had was in the church, of course, and was a church on Chicago's South Side. He's from Chicago's way South Side, and he was always a Sox fan. And he was at the 2005 World Series against the Astros, and the seat he sat in, Dave, has like a bronze plaque. It's the Pope Leo seat. I don't know if you can buy it for a game or not. I should try. I don't know if I can
Well,
afford
Phil,
that seat, but
I'm
the Catholic, the Catholic Church
I'm
is
fully
loaded.
expecting our next podcast you will be modeling the Pope Leo White Sox cap for.
Oh, I will. That's going to depend on the U.S. Postal Service, Dave. If the next podcast is within the next few years or so, I should
Yeah, I
have it
think
by then.
they're working on a regulation to ban all mail-in Pope hats. So, my
Well, it could be. But that's the case. And in all fairness, I also went to a couple of Cub games. Uh, that was also great fun. There's nothing like Wrigley
let's
Field.
let's make
You know, you and I
let's make clear to our
we're just
audience,
big
Phil, and I
baseball
know many of
fans.
them would understand that as a devout white, there's no such thing as somebody who's a White Sox and Cubs fan. That doesn't happen. And
Not even Pope
you've
Leo.
stated this many times, you get more joy from a Cubs loss than even from a White Sox win. That's how deep it goes.
You're right about that, Dave. This was the wisdom passed along to me by my brother, my late brother, who was maybe the biggest White
Mhm.
Sox fan ever, who told me at a very formative age, around the same time he gave me my first Playboy, that it's far more important that the Cubs lose than the White Sox win. And you'd have to be from Chicago to understand that, but
Well,
no truer
as a
words
Mets
were ever
fan, I
spoken.
do take great joy in any Yankees loss, but I'm not quite
Yeah,
as far
sure.
where it's better than a
Yes.
Mets win. But I'll say this: if the Mets lose, the day can be salvaged. If the Yankees lose too, then I don't feel bad.
Yes. Yes. We're
Yeah.
coming from a pretty similar place. But Wrigley Field looking beautiful. I got to say, the thing I note all the time now that I only see it like once a year is the renovations around the park.
Oh,
I
nice.
mean, the perimeter of the park are just so incredible. They have taken so you're picturing the outside of the ballpark along the left field line and have turned it into a magnificent area for kids with astroturf. You know, you could play catch before the game. And this is where they have all the statues of former players and
Mm-hmm.
also Harry Carey. They just added, very sadly, the Ryan Sandberg statue upon his passing away. And that's the newest edition. We took a look at that. It was beautiful. Of all the statues I've seen out there, this one really looks like Rhino. It's incredibly well done, and it's got him in a sort of a double play pose, which we've seen Rhino over the years do that many times. Classic. Who else is out there? My gosh, Ernie Banks, of course, Billy Williams,
Oh, Herbie,
Fergie
sure.
Jenkins, Dave. There's a statue. There's Ron
A
Santo,
favorite,
and
a
I'll
favorite of
say as a
yours, I
Sox
know.
hater, uh, if you're a Sox fan, Dave, you have to dislike Ron Santo and point out that the statue catches him with both
Pixel
feet. So it's historical to his playing days. And then later, as you know, or may not know in our audience, Ron Santo
Right?
became a
Remember that?
broadcaster
Mm-hmm.
for the Cubs. And perhaps if the statue should be for anything, it should be for being the greatest homer ever in the booth. I mean, this guy lived and died Chicago Cubs, and if you like that kind of broadcast, he was good at it. Colorful guy, and for the record, a very very good hitter and a very very good third baseman in his day. Actually, in his
That's
last
right. Yeah,
season,
yeah.
played for the
Hey,
White
I've got a little
Sox.
something here to share. I don't know if you can you see
And
that? That is, you see that?
yeah, that's you
That's
out
actually
in
my
front of
son
Wrigley
Hank.
Field, Dave.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
that's
Henry
great.
back
Well, you guys look alike.
25 years
Um,
ago, something like that, in front of Wrigley Field. Yeah.
yeah. Well, there you go. He's standing very close to where what I'm describing, the renovated area where
Oh,
he could
great,
have
great.
played
Yeah.
catch before the game. And now there's everything. I mean, a fancy hotel out there, great restaurants. In fact, I don't know if it's still there, but when they first started these renovations, the manager of the Chicago Cubs, who took them to the World Series, oh my gosh,
What's that?
he also
Oh,
managed
Madden.
the Angels.
Joe Madden. Joe Madden. Mhm.
Madden, Joe Madden, thank you. Uh, Owned what I am told was a
Oh, really?
magnificent
Huh, yeah.
Italian restaurant right there. He himself is a wine connoisseur. He does an interesting podcast, by the way. Very, very involved. I'm not sure if he's with any team formally these days, but I think there was some involvement with the Cubs still, where he was.
Yeah,
an
you don't
advisor in
hear
some
much about Joe
capacity.
Madden, but he made quite a mark for himself at a time when he became the manager of the Angels, of the Cubs, and very
Yeah,
very innovative
he sure did.
manager. And
That he was. When he used to, he was really a player's guy too. Where he would have the crazy, uh, you know, how would I even call it? Like pranks and stuff he would pull on the team where he would insist they
mhm.
dressed in a certain way. And there is a day when he had a rack of dresses and all the players had to wear a dress. And I wish I could call it up right now, Dave, but you haven't seen a set of legs till you see Kyle Schwarber in a dress.
Is there anything he can't do?
Oh, no, no, apparently not. Doing it again now after a
Yeah,
recent
yeah.
home run drought. He's
Well, there
back,
was often and it
hitting them
may
again.
still
So,
be, although with the attitudes towards cross dressing have changed over the years, but it was always sort of traditional that
whose
the
attitude, Dave?
last road trip of the season that the rookies would all have to dress up in women's clothes. Yeah,
That's right. You're right about that. And Madden made it universal. Everybody had to when they got on the plane. And I think there were many, many fans waiting for them. This was in the height of the 2016 run. So they would have fans greeting the plane. And it was hilarious. Google
well,
it,
are you
and
aware
surely
that
you're going to find
among
these
major
photos.
league bullpens, the relief pitching staff, and I think this is true for all teams, one pitcher, and I think it might usually be the one with the least service, the least senior player, their responsibility is to carry candy around. They have backpacks full of candy and
Oh,
snacks,
I've
and it would
heard
be that
this.
guy's job to make
Yeah.
sure he always
Yeah.
had that snack bag with him. And of course, if he didn't, there was hell to pay. But
Yeah.
that's a very common thing. That
Well, my gosh, Dave, think about it. You spend like 6 months of the year
yeah,
living
yeah.
like a family with these guys. And, those are very valuable moments on the team always. The guy who's got the sense of humor, the guy who's willing to put up with that stuff, the guy who's got the old stories.
Well,
This is what makes a team go. And when you find out every successful team, they've got that going
well, in
in
ball
some
four,
capacity.
Jim Bouton talked a lot about
Dave,
what happens in the
yeah,
bullpen and how they got to kill 3 or 4 hours every night, and sometimes they don't get in the game, and they just have to entertain themselves.
did
Jim Bouton. Mhm.
you say Jim Bouton, Dave? No. His great book. Remember how revolutionary that was, Ball Four. That kind of took
Yep,
the
yep,
curtain
yep.
down on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, they found out that
Uh,
baseball players drink sometimes. Shocker, yeah.
oh my gosh, can you say Mickey Mantle, Dave?
Well, I,
Have you? We in a Chicago White Sox fan, of course. Uh, lived for 30 years with the play-by-play of Ken Harrelson, who was actually a great Red Sox player, did not play for the White Sox, but broadcast the White Sox for over 30 years. And he was tremendous friends with Mickey Mantle and Billy Martin. And he would tell those drinking stories too. And it was great. The Hawk,
you know,
quite a
well, I
personality.
just
Well,
for a
Dave,
second here,
I'm
just
going
to say
to,
that
you go ahead.
I've compiled as I do special dates in the month of August and things that happen. We're getting a little close on time now, and I don't want to give short shrift to Mr.
Well,
Pacino. So I wonder if
we don't, but it is, we're about 39 minutes into the show, Dave. We're planning on going an hour. Let's just take a couple of minutes because I want to share with our audience that we know our many comics, many of our Tucson comic friends, Arizona comic friends. I just want to talk for a minute
oh,
or two
please
about
do
the
because that
Chicago
you did a
comedy
lot of
scene.
comedy there. Yeah.
I did a lot of comedy. I have some connections, fans at the wonderful Chicago
Mm-hmm.
Laugh Factory, Dave, which is one of the premier
Mm-hmm.
comedy clubs in the country. And I was on a show that they call the Early Bird Special. This is all a little bit seasoned comics. And we do a show on, it's usually the third week in July on a Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, hence the Early Bird Special. And it was a great show. I was so happy to be on it. I'll encourage people to check out my website, philgordon.com. You can see my video of my performance at Laugh Factory. Maybe we'll work it
Mm-hmm.
into this show sometime, Dave. Uh, we'll check with the Zencaster
your
robot
friend,
on that.
your friendly robot. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yes,
I
why
just
not?
wanted to say that the August
But I
stuff
was
that I
going to
have,
say
we
it.
can do it next show. We don't have to rush and squeeze that in because I want to hear about the comedy and I want to have Mr.
Well,
Pacino visiting us.
right, but maybe you can do an abbreviated short
Cover a few
version of
things.
the
Yeah. Okay.
key
But
August
I don't
dates.
want to
So
squeeze it in and I
we
don't
can
want
hang
to
it out
rush
with
anything.
Pacino. Well, we're getting set up in his location right now. So, but let's leave it. Let's cap it at 2-3 minutes on
Okay.
Chicago
Okay.
comedy. We'll pick it up again some other time. But it's a beautiful comedy scene, Dave. I started there. Probably going on about 20 years ago when I was still living in Chicago. I took the stand-up classes at the
Mm-hmm.
great club Zanies with my mentor and absolutely wonderful comic Dobie Maxwell. I noticed Dobie just played at in Vegas at the oh my gosh, the comedy club owned by the guy from uh, the show where the two brothers. Uh,
Tommy and
Sorry
Dickie.
about this. No, 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 no. He was a cop, and the
Oh, Ray
brother is a
Romano,
great
Brad Garrett.
comic too.
Yeah. Uh,
Ray Romano, thank you very much. And who is Ray
Brad Garrett.
Romano's brother in the show, Dave? Brad Garrett. This is a long, long road to get here.
No, I love
Brad
Brad
Garrett's
Garrett. Big fan.
Comedy
Big
Club
fan.
is where Dobie Maxwell played. It's a great comedy club too in Vegas. But that's my connection and my background in Chicago. So in Chicago, Dave, on any given night, you've got your choice of maybe 10 to
Oh,
20
wow.
open mics
Mm-hmm.
if you want to get out there. Some of them are incredible. I'll list a few for you. There's all the big clubs have an open mic. Laugh Factory has an open mic on Wednesday, which is classic. And one of the differences to what you and I find in Tucson, let's say, is these open mics have like a dedicated, regular paying audience. You're performing in front of, probably not in their main room, but in one of their side rooms, 100 to 200 people that are not comedians that are there to see the new comics. So it's a different,
For
little different
anybody
environment
unfamiliar
that
with the
way.
open mic scene, typically an open mic is very sparsely attended and it's a lot of friends of the comic basically, so you don't, and usually they're free, so you're talking about people who are coming out paying money, so you're obviously going to get a higher level of comics at an open mic like
Yeah,
that. It's going to be a good show. Mhm.
absolutely. Then there's a few, that whole area where Laugh Factory is located, if you know the streets in Chicago, Broadway and Belmont. And within that area, there are about a dozen
Wow.
quality open mics. And they spread it out on days and times so
Mm-hmm.
that you could go to all of them. And it's like there's a place called the Den, a little theater that does open mic. So they'll do it like at 7 p.m. And then down the street on Belmont, there's Shuba's, a great bar, also for music. But on Tuesday nights is their comedy night. And so they do it at about 9. So you'll see a herd of comics walking down Belmont because you cannot park. So everybody walks, and a herd of comics go from the Den to Shuba's. And if you're smart, or if you talk to these other comics and get the ropes a little bit, you stop by Shuba's first and sign up and put yourself toward the back of the list, and then go to the Den, and then
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself time to walk over.
Now,
So it's
could you hit
incredible.
more? Could you hit
There's
3 or 4 since they're all bunched together? Would you be able to do that?
Well, they space themselves out time wise so
Oh
that they
wow,
allow comics to do that. And then later in the evening, you go up Lincoln Avenue, and there's some mics that don't start till 10, 11 o'clock,
wow, that's great.
which is great. There's a beautiful place called the Lincoln Lodge that is an entire week of different performances, also classes. But they've got several open mics, and they start very early. It's like about
Mhm.
a 6 p.m. start. and you got to get in line. There's no signing up early. There's no online signups. And these mics are so crowded, Dave, that sometimes you're
Wow.
just
Okay.
getting 3
So now
minutes.
the Lincoln Lodge, is that
So, you
devoted
got
to
it.
President Lincoln? Is there a balcony where one could sit, or does all the dying take place on stage in a place like
Well, there's plenty of dying on stage, Dave. I wouldn't trust any of these other comics, so you could be shot in the balcony at any moment. It refers to the street that it's located on, Lincoln Avenue, which I do believe is
that?
named
Well,
after
it's the land
President
of
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
So,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes to everything. There's great mics in every direction on the South Side. There's great comedy clubs, and they have open mics. Out in Beverly is an area that I know. I taught for a period of time at St. Xavier University out there. There used to be a little club there that had an open mic on a Wednesday night, which is where I kind of cut my teeth. I remember Dobie in class would say, if you're willing to drive out to 103rd Street, there's a real comedy club that'll put you up. And it was a Sinisi's
Uh-huh.
Wine Cellar, I think was the name of it. And it was run by a great guy, Bill Brady, who still performs comedy around Chicago. He
Mm-hmm.
closed the club a few years ago. But he had a great Wednesday night mic. And in Chicago, Dave, if you're a city worker, police officer, fireman, at any sort of precinct captain sort of job, you have to live
Mm-hmm.
in the city limits. So at least you did back then. And so consequently, a lot of police and firemen live in those far out neighborhoods that are great neighborhoods, great schools, and all that. So you'd often have cops and firemen at this
Oh, uh-huh.
Sinisi's Wine Cellar. They used to call it the
Right.
Barrel of Laughs was the name of the club. And so you had an audience of like cops sitting out there. It was hilarious. And it was a great club. Out west, I notice now in the western suburbs, a lot of clubs opening up and doing open mic. I did a club called the 120 Club, and that was great fun. But Dave, I'll wrap it up there. Just saying, we'll talk more about the Chicago comedy scene in future shows. But it was a great time. I had my great thrill by performing at the Laugh Factory, and I think we should probably move into the special days, and I'll go work with Mr.
If you
Pacino
can
to
go
get him
fetch
ready.
Mr. Pacino, and I'll cover for a little bit here, and just talk a little bit before you bring him back. But hurry back. And
I will, Dave. Let me just say before I go,
okay.
hooah!
All right, Phil. We'll see Mr. Pacino in a little while, and we'll have a little cooking segment with Al Pacino coming today, folks. And we're looking forward to that. I think he has something summary planned for you, something you might want to employ when you're camping or something like that this summer. And I also want to say that we don't. When we did our radio show, it was called "Is This On?" We were really aiming at it, comics, young comics, or people who are interested in comedy. Obviously, we've done a lot of comedy stuff tonight, but we'll probably be a little more broad based here. And as you can tell, we talk a lot about sports and probably get into politics quite a bit. We are pretty liberal in our opinions, but we try not to be complete jerks about it. Nah, it's not true.